The MoD has blocked National Audit Office remit calls for transparency over defence spending. I'm going to read into this piece from Byline Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Byline Times with the headline that the MoD has blocked the National Audit Office report amid calls for transparency over defence spending. This is truly appalling decision from a department which, for decades, has been notorious for its careless and wasteful attitude towards taxpayer money. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. It's really important that we have a right to know how the government spends our money. I think that transparency is supposed to be very, very important. Now, understandably so, there are some cases where the public don't, and there are some cases where in certain circumstances, certain things, the public can't know about absolutely everything. But we're talking about how the money for defence, protecting of the UK, how it's being spent, that's our taxpayer money. Now, there are maybe some things that they can't share for security reasons or national security reasons. And I think some people would be understandable with that. But we should know where most money of defence spending is going. Now, you can argue that some of it will go towards Ukraine. Yes. Some of it will go to weapons and manufacturing. Some of it may even go, some of it probably even goes to Israel as well. But people want to see the numbers. And there are some things, they could redact some things and release a Freedom of Information report as well, if they really wanted to, because on the sites of national security. But to block an audit report that the general public should have a right to know is definitely a cause for concern. I think that openness of knowing what this government is doing is really, really important. And what each department has been doing with our money as well. A lot of people feel, especially when this cost of living crisis, if it was up to most people, they would want to cut a lot more on defence in order to deal with cost of living crisis, for example. But a part of me also, while a part of me agrees slightly with that, part of me is like, well, defence is really, really important because we still have, there is always that threat from Russia. And we should be prepared for that if that ever happens on our lands. I know it's unlikely, but it can happen if we're not careful. So I do think that's important. I kind of wish the government were a bit more clear on why they've not allowed this. But let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So, the Ministry of Defence, the MoD, has blocked the publication of a National Audit Office, NAO, investigation into its activities, Byline Times has learned. In response to a Freedom of Information request asking for a number and details of MoD reports by the National Audit Office that could not be publicly released, the MoD has said there is one instance in the past 5 years where the NAO have undertaken an investigation which has not been publicly released. It added that the details were withheld for reasons of defence, national security, international relations and commercial interests. So one of them, only one incident in the past 5 years where they've said, we can't show you this one. Well, can you show us part of it? No, we can't show you this one. So you can't show us at all. Why can't you show us at all? The Freedom of Information request was submitted to the London-based charity Action on Armed Violence, the AOAV, where AOAV contacted the MoD for more information. The ministry was not able to confirm the subject of the report. We work openly and transparently with the NAO on activity related to value for money studies and investigating work, the MoD has said. Each year, the NAO completes a targeted investigation into MoD's operations alongside auditing its regular equipment planned reports and annual reports and accounts for the ministry. In recent years, these value for money reports have covered areas including strategic shortcomings, undermining the role of the UK Space Agency, weakness in defence inventory management, and the MoD's management of infrastructure projects at nuclear regulated sites. The ministry said that the NAO had conducted 18 MoD reports between 2019 and 2023. In agreement with the NAO, only one of those has not been published, it said. But the Finance Minister, Rachel Reeves, has pledged an extra £2.9 billion to the Defence Ministry during a period of budget uncertainty, stagnant economic growth, and high interest rate. The AOAV argues that the public has a right to know the agendas and outcomes of all NAO's values for money reports and investigations. And the public does. 2.9 billion pounds of public taxpayer money is going into defence, and we are not being told what that's going on. We should know. Reeve said in her first budget speech that the additional funds, alongside an annual £3 billion in military assistance for Ukraine, will support government's plans to increase defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. Weeks later, the Office of National Statistics (ONS) reported that the economy grew by just 0.1% in Q3, that's quarter 3, compared with 0.5% in quarter 2. The omission of the suppressed investigation follows the discovery of The Guardian earlier this year of a censored 1992 report by NAO into alleged corruption in a major British Saudi arms contract, concluding a 3-decade campaign for the document to be published. In 1985, the government of Margaret Thatcher and Prince Bambar bin Sultan, the Saudi defence minister, agreed the £40 billion Yamarida contract for the supply of military equipment and aircraft. The MoD had a formal agreement with the Saudi government to supervise the contract until under which BAE Systems was the major contractor. Soon after, it was alleged that members of Saudi Arabia's royal family were receiving bribes on the agreement. Interesting. In April, Spotlight on Corruption and Transparency International UK called for a National Audit Office inquiry into the alleged involvement of the Ministry of Defence in the bribery scandal, revealed the following acquittal of 2 men accused of corruption offences back in March. But a campaign source told AOAV that the NAO confirmed in April that it was not intended to conduct an audit on this particular issue. The NAO said that any developments on this matter would be published on the organisation's website, the source added. Elliot Keek, head of campaign at the Taxpayer Alliance, said to Byline Times, "This is truly a appalling decision from a department which for decades has been notorious in a careless and wasteful attitude towards taxpayer money. The National Audit Office does vital work and has never been more important to give the pressing demands for significant increases in defence spending. The Ministry of Defence should be allowed the publication of the report and ensure that in the future it's more open and accountable to the public that funds it." And he's right. He's right. There needs to be more transparency here. Like I can understand a security point of view where there are certain things that they can't talk about. I totally get that. But considering that they've been doing this on the trot, consistently pulling out these reports, and yet for some reason they have one they can't share, and they can't give a clear reason why, or they just seem to say national security reasons or whatnot, but they're not being too precise, shall we say, on the matter, does raise some questions there. It is very concerning. I wish they would be a bit more clear about it. But what I will say is, obviously, that is, at the end of the day, that is our money, taxpayer money. And we should know where taxpayer money should go. Because then it shows us, okay, we're paying our taxes, we're doing our part, what are you doing in return? Okay, so you're putting some money towards this within the Department of Defence. Okay, you're putting this amount of money in this here report here. Okay, you're putting money there. Okay, $3 billion is going to Ukraine. People who look at the numbers and whatnot, people want to know that stuff. It's really, really important, and especially certain groups out there as well want to know as well, so from the numbers perspective as well. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys make of the MoD blocking the National Audit Office amid the calls for transparency? Do you think they've got a reason for this? Do you think that there is security concerns, or do you think that perhaps they spent money somewhere that they shouldn't have spent money, that they don't want the public to find out? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, we greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.